starting with that already?
Okay, wait a minute. Hang on now. Let's take a look at who's wearing a coat right now.
Oh my gosh, guys, I'm cold.
And
it might be the end of the world.
I was actually a little bit warm. So
it might be.
I don't know. Hey, welcome everybody. It is Aaron Live. It's Sunday. What is today? The 9th?
Mm-hmm. Do you feel older now?
I do. I had a birthday a couple days ago. I got 0 cards, but a couple of e-cards. So that was nice. And
I made a face. Sorry.
Did you give me a card?
No.
Okay. Well, then
your presents aren't even here yet. Well, you did get one today.
I did. So we'll take a look at.
Sick on his birthday. I was sick.
She was, and so no one would come over because we all thought maybe she had COVID, which she turned out she didn't, thankfully. But so no one would come over.
There's still other germs out there.
It was kind of sad. Yeah, it was very sad.
We forget those other germs.
That's true.
Can you know more? Can I take the coat off?
Yeah.
Okay.
I had to make sure that this was a moment that the fan is actually not on.
It's gonna be though.
Oh gosh.
Help me. Thank you.
She's sitting here just before we went on air and said, "Oh, I'm cold." I said, "Oh, put my coat on." And I said, "Oh, you think I'm going to let this slide by?" Nope. No. So let's take a look and see.
Oh my gosh,
who's
comments.
here? The comments are rolling in.
Woo!
Hey, Leg Kick looks like he was the first one in the door. And Leg Kick is here because Leg Kick is almost always here.
Yep.
Flying Saucers here. Hyper Potato. I like this.
Peter.
Sundays are for worship, rest, and cannonballs to the belly. Atari Force Forever. Wow.
This noggin.
Wait a minute. Atari Force Forever. Well, you got the first one. Jeff Stout, hail to the chat. Aaron and Shelley Showtime, have a great stream. Thank you. Wiley Draws, Viva la Indie Revolution.
Indie Revolution.
Micra's here. Stippling Vaughn. This is kind of funny. Please save us from this horrid debate and start streaming early. We were watching a couple of minutes of it.
My bad.
Go ahead.
Oh, I kind of looked at his Twitter page and does everything
in stipple.
Yeah, that's patience. Wow, it was impressive. Good job.
Yeah, stippling is it's crazy, man. I don't have the patience for that. That's for sure.
We don't have patience for much of anything.
That's true. In fact, show's over. I can't take it anymore. Let's see. Sequential Treasures is here. Thanks for joining us. Clydine.
Hi, girl.
Look at that. She gave me a hi, Aaron.
But that was before it started.
That's right. So she didn't know maybe that you were here.
Oh, no. I'm warm now. Dang it.
She's warm and she's getting warmer. Yeah. Hey, how about this? It's a heck of a night for a Lepresti stream. Happy Sunday. Thank you, Stat Zero. Appreciate it.
Quite a
Mythic Punisher is here. Bill Maxwell joins us with his Captain America shield. Thanks for joining us. Past Master Dan, Rip Bob Saget. I just saw that. Waiting for details about that. Not that I get any sort of satisfaction out of that, but just kind of curious.
What's good?
There's a ton of stuff good, and we're going to get to that in just a moment, JP. But thanks for joining us.
All sorts of
L.E. Munoz is here.
Oh, that's a new one, I think.
Floydman Sumner. No,
it's a funny book. Yep. It is looking so good. Oh my gosh. Okay, we'll go there in a minute.
We'll go there in a minute. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, for the about
57th time.
19th time.
Yeah. Wait, okay, so how old are you now?
Less than 60, but more than 50.
Okay. I'll buy that.
Aaron is going through his change.
No.
Here, see if maybe
now I'm sweating.
See if maybe you can go through that.
Yeah, it's always fun. When we were younger and we couldn't wait to grow up and get older. And
thank you, Anatomy. Appreciate that.
And so my next birthday will be my 29th, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ooh. Ciao. I like that. Kind of throws a little international flavor.
Right. Like we are some classy people here. Oh my gosh.
Happy belated birthday. Facebook forbid me from sending you well wishes. Those rotten Facebook
you're on the
people.
List. You are on the list. Hey, how about down?
What?
Oh, see how he gets all sassy? Minus 20 degrees in Minnesota.
Holy crap. Wait a minute. Look at this. How did these sneak in here?
My
we didn't
gosh.
even see that. Okay, so how do I get this up on screen? Anyway, Randy Howell says, ahoy, scurvies. Captain Graybird Lopresti is preparing to lay down a broadside. You know, this is the first time someone's paid $5 for this. But there you are.
Say, hey, how much do you want to be cannibal? Well, click on it.
I know,
because you didn't see it.
Oh, there it is. There's Stat Zero. It's $20. Thank you, man. There's a birthday present. How about that? See, Randy, that's how you treat someone on their birthday. And
I
I'm
should
going to
take
respond
notes
like this. Thank you for that, Stat Zero. That's very nice. $20. Oh, there's Randy's. Okay, there it is. Ahoy, scurvies. Captain Graybird Lopresti preparing to lay down a broadside. Oh, wait a minute. Here, let me.
What are you doing?
I'm going to lay this.
Now
you got double action for your $5. Thank you both, you guys, for the super chats. That's very kind of you.
So apparently, you're the same age now as Geek Avenger.
If he says so. Yeah. Well, we are. We're the classiest of the class.
Just take your hand off the mouse.
Oh, wait a minute. Let me have the mouse one more second here before I give it over to you, because there seems to be a little bit of a problem here that needs to be corrected. Okay, there you go.
Two.
I know you're not starting off very well. Okay, there you go. Oh my gosh.
Oh no, it says there you go.
Aaron, we are the same age now. Welcome to the club, young man. Thank you. Well, Geek Avenger, how about that?
Only the classiest.
And we're the only two people old enough to know what your little avatar is.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, he has a Flash Gordon avatar.
Oh,
not that Flash Gordon, like the black and white Flash, Buster Crab Flash Gordon from the serials.
Ooh.
What does Jeff say in there? Honestly, Aaron, I feel for your pain. What does that say? Honestly, Aaron, I feel your pain. My wife felt bad for me last night and even offered to allow me to turn up the temperature in the house. Pardon me. A whole degree.
Nice.
Randy's saying it's still worth it. So good.
Awesome.
I mean, it does, you got your money out of your $5, or your money's worth out of that $5. I should. I don't know. I don't know what that means.
Don't know either. Oh, bot report. Okay.
Good day.
So who's
going to assume from Australia? Maybe, I don't know.
But no, because then.
Well, that's
got to be a bot. Yeah,
that's a bot.
So where's all the wrenches?
Clydeen.
Hi, Clydeen.
Thank you so much.
Happy birthday to you.
Thank you. Appreciate that, Clydeen.
I do feel bad. I was in bed that whole, days.
Oh, look at this. We have a huge club. Randy Hall, we're all the same age. How about that?
Wow.
That's fabulous.
Clydeen just figured out how to do it just for you. So there.
I just figured out how to do this on YouTube. So there. Well,
I'm right. Yeah. I didn't know until.
Thank you so much. That's very
long
kind
ago.
of you. I appreciate that.
Can we do the thing so I can open that?
Oh, well.
Sorry.
Okay. Hang on a second. See, now you're going to delay it even longer.
We got to get some wrenches out there.
You have a wrench.
I don't on there. Do I?
Yeah.
I do, but other people don't.
People have wrenches?
Special.
Leg Kick has a wrench. Okay. So anyway, now I forgot what I was going to say. So thanks a lot.
You're welcome, everybody. Three.
Okay. So yeah, Shelley was like, "Can we do this so that we can have our snacks?" And I got to find it.
I got to turn the fan on too.
Here we go. Oh, great. Anyway.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Will she ever learn? Probably not.
Apparently not. So, Shelley, what do you have today for your snack?
Well,
that's a shocker.
I got to keep my reputation up.
A little white claw.
Well, what did I say though? Last one's for a while.
Black cherry.
Black cherry. It's the only time I have.
There's actually some gummy bears there too. I picked up for you.
Somebody already opened them.
Well, I had to make sure they were okay.
Oh, he's my food tester now or taster?
My dear 90-year-old mother made applesauce cake
for his birthday.
So that's what I'm having.
And then I took it out when the timer went off, and
it didn't
go over well. I didn't test it because
You can't take
I
it
got
out.
things to do. No, actually, we were on our way out to Jordan.
And you ran when my mom started yelling.
Was that a COVID test day or something? I don't know.
I think
I got 2 of them.
I think it was.
I didn't pass either one, so evidently I didn't study.
Shelley's braiding her hair. Let me try that again.
What?
How did I get Shelley is braiding her hair? Shelley is trading her White Claw for neck crunches this week.
I'm behind because we've already got 3 and I'm on my first. Yep.
A wrench is something you give people so that when bots show up or someone gets unruly in the chat, they have the ability to block them. So while we're doing the show, we don't have to worry about what's going on in the chat, even though we do worry about what's going on in the chat. But once you start interviewing somebody, like we have a guest later today.
We do have a guest.
And that's when I have less time to look at the chat. And that's when the people with the wrenches come in handy because they can kind of keep the unruly people at bay.
Well, then we're, still kind of
thank you
tiny,
again, dear. Appreciate that.
So we can keep track of the chat most of the time.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Rules for the unruled.
Okay, so let's get rocking and rolling here. And we need to give up, I guess, a Wraith update, right?
Wraith update.
Okay, so I think I may have said last week that I'd sent the stickers out. Well, I got notification that they're being sent back to me, so that means they're printed. And I'll be sharing stickers.
Oh, I thought you meant
soon.
sent back. Like, no,
no, they're
I would
done.
Send it back,
and they're being sent back to me.
Nice.
So, and I am of course working on pages, and I got a page to show you. This is
my hands off.
This is a first page of the origin of the Wraith. I don't think it reveals very much, so I'm going to show it to you. But if you're like really hypersensitive to spoilers, you can just do this, or this, or this.
This one?
Yeah. This is page 38.
So cool. Oh, sorry. I was enjoying looking at it. This time you actually get to see it.
Okay. So we have a little bit of Wraith action up here, as you can see, and something's burning. And then we go fade into his origin story, which starts right here, of all places, at the circus.
At the circus.
Mm-hmm.
So
we have the cart for the unimaginable Dr. Mystery right there.
Nice.
So what does that all mean? I don't know.
That means K Manifesto.
I can tell you something. Yeah.
That means.
There's a lot of cross-hatching in there. My shoulder hurts. But anyway, so you get some line work in there, some horses, some
Have you been using
fire
the
action?
I got you?
Occasionally, but not as often as I should.
I got him a thing for pain.
A laser treatment thing. Anyway, so there you go. There's your Wraith update. That's page.
Sweet.
What page is that? 37 or 38?
37.
Okay, so I'm starting 38 tonight after the show. So we're moving right along. Yeah, things are rolling along.
So are we saying that Wraith started out as a clown?
That's exactly what I'm saying. Oh, that's what I'm trying to hit. Talbot and Cheney, nice. He gets it. Good for him.
What?
Oh, there you go. Daily. Talbot and Cheney. Lon Chaney. See, people get the joke.
What? I don't get it.
Well, you
help us out.
You got to be a horror film fan to get the joke.
Oh, no, thank you.
Happy birthday, Aaron. Math for Shelley. When Art has his, does he have to subtract the BC years to get an accurate rolling total?
I would say BC is before calculator.
That's right.
Yep.
Okay.
Victor Thomas is here. Says, hey, everyone.
Oh, look at that. That's very nice, Mayfield Jude. Wraith's cloak contrasted with the flames looks so good. Thank you very much. Appreciate
that. How come the lighting is weird now?
Because I held that thing up there. It's like a white balance thing. And now it's sort of, I don't know if I.
Oh, look in the background.
Way back there?
Yeah.
That's a big guy.
Yeah.
Big guy in Rusty. Okay. I don't know. I think it will recalibrate.
Oh, let's not go there. What are you thinking?
This is like
seriously. We're gonna need to take a little commercial break so I can break him.
Greek Avenger, you want to skip over 52? We'll bring back bad memories of the new 52.
Oh, do you remember 52?
Long ago? I remember the new 52.
Do you remember 52?
No.
You
know, the funny thing about this is that is actually incorrect.
Don't you ever scroll down like that again.
You mean like this?
Don't.
We're trying to adjust the lighting here.
Actually, if you just show me from like here up, I'm all right. The rest of me.
Look at this is like during World War II when they were like, do like flashlights.
Hi, Daniel Russell. It's okay. You're late.
Okay.
You haven't missed much. We're just being weird.
Now, hang on a second.
Normal.
New 52 is a horrid thing. I've done a lot of signings in my lifetime. Done a lot of store signings.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them not very successful. Sad but true. New 52, I had to line out the door for 2 hours when I did Justice League International New 52. So I have fond memories of that. So
nice.
Okay.
Okay, the lighting is super weird. What did you do? Don't.
Here, hand me that thing again.
The thing.
See, I went and did this.
Right.
And I think that's better now.
I just don't think it's me. It's not the lighting. It doesn't get
no,
better.
It's that. It's when
doesn't get no better.
Yeah, well, thankfully, Mike, you haven't missed anything. So
sorry, everybody else in the chat's like, yeah, seriously, nothing.
Okay. Also, I wanted to plug John Malin is launching his Graveyard Shift Volume 4 today on Indiegogo. The link is in the description along with Wraith of God. So if you haven't backed Wraith of God, there's a link right in there for you to go check out the campaign and see if maybe it's something you'd be interested in.
Oh, and then that one, have you heard of the other campaign, Wraith of God? I hear that one's pretty good.
Yeah, that one's pretty good too. So you might want to check that out. If you don't like Wraith of God, make sure you go to look at Wraith of God and see if maybe that would be of more interest to you.
Right. So, and if that doesn't work, just go to Wraith of God.
Yeah, that's the fallback then. If you can't, right. So anyway, let's do a quick public service announcement because I think we may have a few new people here. Mm-hmm. You never know.
You never know.
See, then it gets really dark.
It looks spooky. Ooh, that's a little better.
Yeah. Okay. So, what we always like to say is please like and subscribe. To the channel. It helps us in some way that I haven't quite figured out yet,
but we'll figure it out later.
But they keep telling me that, so I want to encourage you guys.
About ourselves.
That's right.
Really.
It's
that's a self-esteem thing.
It is. It's important.
Yep.
So we appreciate that. Not really sure what he's referring to there, but I got a pretty good idea of actually.
Us. Ooh.
Are we? That's. I wanted to get to 1883. Wouldn't that be fun?
That would be fun.
I think we will. I think we'll eventually get there. Okay, so
yes,
they burned Question and the Creeper to the ground. Don't know what that means. Don't know what
That's
that means.
Okay. Really good to see.
No. I love Joe Kubert. I love Jose Luis Garcia Lopez. I hate Atari Force. But that doesn't mean I didn't think it was well drawn when,
yeah.
Okay.
Oh, Winston, hi.
Well, Winston, go all the way from
Singapore.
Thank you. I was going to say the Philippines. I knew that wasn't right. Oh, thank you very much. That's very kind of you. Look at that.
Thank you.
Past Master Dan. Is he just getting here now? No. Clayton says, I worked today. I actually got notification before you came on. Usually I don't get anything. I only see you on Facebook or YouTube actually sent me something today. How about that?
Ooh,
excellent.
Finally.
Well, I think you have to click on that bell icon under there.
That's the notification bell.
Right. And then it'll notify you when my stuff comes up. So just being subscribed to me doesn't actually get you the notification. I think you actually have to hit the bell too.
But it does get you our undying gratitude.
That's right. It's true.
Which is almost as important.
Right. It's almost as important as the rights and image of the day. So let's take a look.
Here we go.
At the rights and image for today. Well, Shelley, what do you think?
I was just going to ask the chat what they thought. Because I really don't have an opinion. It's not my favorite. So why'd you pick that one? Well, not that you only have to pick the ones I like, but.
Well, I was curious what you'd think about it. There's a lot of detail in that piece. Obviously, the water and the sky. For a splash page, for a comic book page, it's a very illustrative piece. A lot of work went into that.
But you lose the boat.
You do.
The boat is too tiny. Well, I guess in scale of everything, but.
Well, you had the word balloon coming out of.
That's the only way I found it.
Well, but that's part of the process too.
Ooh.
Word balloons are part of the design of the page.
Ooh, enlighten me.
I think I just did.
I just did.
I just did. So we did mention that it was my birthday recently.
We did.
And so my son,
he
daughter-in-law, and my wife,
and me.
I got there combined to
we got him
give me
some
something.
bubble
So we're going to do the unboxing right now
Mm-hmm.
of this FedEx box. And let's see what I got.
The dog
Stuck
loves
there.
the bubble wrap.
Don't give it to him. So does Shelley, apparently. Oh, here he comes.
Oh, is that the signal, baby? Yeah.
Okay, so this
We got
appears
some
to
cardboard.
be
Don't mess with the lighting again.
something.
Show and tell. That's right. Drum roll.
Take the tape off.
Matt Hep says happy birthday.
Thank you very much, Matt. Appreciate that. Ooh.
Qu'est-ce que c'est?
All right, are you ready?
I am.
Now, this is a book that it's not particularly valuable in the big, when you say hundreds of dollars or something like that. But I love the cover. This is a Gil Kane cover, and it's one I've wanted for a long, long time. There it is.
There it is, ladies and gentlemen.
It's Iron Man 48, I think. Yes, it is. So as you'll notice, it has that sort of box frame format. Now, what else, Shelley? Do you know off the top of your head what else might have that kind of format to it?
I'm thinking cover B.
Well, let's take a look and
Let's
see.
Oh.
Wow.
Check it out.
See?
I get it now.
See the inspiration right there.
Uh-huh. Pretty cool.
They always had like some sort of tagline underneath the image right here, which I did. When strikes the wolf. And you got your little character up here in the corner.
I saw that first. I was like, good one.
Okay.
I like it.
So that's where that came from. Well, not this specific cover, but that concept.
Oh, I like that. Good job.
Oops, maybe I should have blinked that off first. Okay, so that's one of them, and this is a combo. This is a birthday present. This is from you and Josh, right?
Yes.
And now my daughter-in-law, my brand
Bless
new
her
daughter-in-law,
heart.
got me this. Which, come on, Man Thing? Are you kidding me?
Can't go wrong with Man Thing.
These, of course, are both Near Mint books because that's all I get anymore, unless they're super old. But yeah, so look, you got Man Thing fighting The Thing, Shang-Chi, Daredevil, and Spider-Man. I might actually pull this out and flip through it. But I have most Man Thing comics. I didn't have this issue. Now I do.
Now you do.
So that's what I call a pretty successful.
You have that issue and
Christmas
many more
issues. Well, I have a lot of issues. That's it. Here, let me help you straighten out some of.
Of my own issues.
Yeah, I think that this might help. That might help you.
Is that 4 or 5?
That's 4 and counting.
Might be a personal record today,
that
folks.
Was
you never know.
That was a fun little unboxing moment there.
Yeah.
Okay, so
love presents. Where's mine?
Well, when it's your birthday or your anniversary or Christmas, but Christmas.
Well, I ordered. It's been 10 days.
Oh, you're talking about the present you got for me? Yeah, where is
any
that?
Present for me. It's fine. I don't know.
Cake.
What is that clicking in the background?
That's our dog popping the plastic bubbles.
Wrap.
Mm-hmm. Randy's right. Giant Size Man Thing comics are the best.
Yeah.
But you know what also is great, Shelley?
Screw what?
When you can take a moment and remember the past a little bit. And let's take a. Why don't I get rid of Randy first? No offense, Randy.
Oh yeah, none taken. I'm sure.
Yeah, don't take that personal.
So yeah, Husker is.
I told you not to give him that.
I didn't give it. You dropped it.
Oh, okay, that's on me.
See?
All right, let me get it from him.
So he just gives
me that. Give me that, you rotten.
Sorry, boo boos.
Yep. All right, so
we're on it.
Now let's take a little trip through memory lane and some precious
moments. Oh, I love these. Okay.
Watch close.
Okay.
Are we going to live in this country?
Don.
What?
Let's go.
No.
Are you just going to stay here?
I don't know.
I don't know.
That was not precious.
Anything.
Guys, we need to get this man a dictionary.
Anything with Kirk in it is precious.
But that thing was creepy.
It was a fortune-telling machine There's an episode from Twilight Zone, and they're newlyweds.
Stay here.
Every time you put a quarter in it and asking a question, it tells you your future.
Oh, what did it tell him?
Well, he was like, "Am I going to live in the East? Am I going to live in the West? Am I going to live outside the country?" She's like, "Dawn, let's go." And he's like, "No, I don't know." So, come on.
That was
a beautiful.
Not one of your most precious moments.
Oh, come on! Anything with Shatner in it is precious.
That's true. It's a precious episode.
No, I think that the chat will agree with me on this.
Oh, well, okay. Nope. You guys agreed. Was that precious? Rating 0 to 5, 5 being so precious. 1 being Aaron's lost it completely.
You better be careful because Nosferatu could come back at any time.
Yeah.
It is Kirk.
It can only do Kirk. That's it.
He has Shat in his name. There you go.
I'm gonna leave that one alone. 2, you've lost your mind.
Shatter blows up. What?
Oh, Eric boy, negative. Now that's precious.
Now, Eric, did you ever play catch with your dad like this? I'm just curious.
Just curious.
I wanted to know.
Oh my gosh, my precious.
I think you should count these streams as precious moments.
They're so nice. Okay, guys, but it was 1 to 5. Let's get out a number line. It was so precious. It's a 10.
No, wait a minute. Here we go. That's the one. He meant to say Shat. Picks the woman over the machine in the end, so it is precious. See, he does. He makes the right choice.
She felt pretty precious at that moment.
I think so.
Yeah.
All right. I saw something that was not precious. It was for Playhouse 90 where he played a store owner who hung a man in a lynching. Ooh.
Not precious.
Okay, I wouldn't show that. That would be completely.
Okay, so that
that would count as.
At least you got that going.
Yeah, that would count as
we need to talk about
precious.
That's what precious is later.
Precious is from the past. It's all right. You know what else is precious?
That last bite of cake.
I know. I know. I'm saving it, so don't get wily on me. But this is also precious. I think this is precious.
Bring it.
And then we have JC Vaughn coming in shortly, and this is my price guide from 1976. It's the first price guide I ever bought from this.
You were in 7th grade?
6th grade. I was 12.
Oh, well, I guess you have 2 school years in 76.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Okay, so I asked Shelley, what should we look up? And she was like throwing some Spider-Man stuff at me. And so I said, well, how about Spider-Man 14?
What did I say first?
You said
What the? Forbush Man. Star Trek.
Yeah, I said, well, okay, we have to actually pick a comic that's worth something.
It was precious.
It was to us because that was the first comic I wrote, drew, and colored. But anyway, it's still worth nothing. Thank you very much.
Oh, it's worth me.
Okay, so let's go look at Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man number 14, Shelley, which is the first appearance of the Green Goblin.
That's not the one.
No, you said the Sandman, but I thought the Green Goblin was more.
Oh, I see.
Okay, so the first appearance of the Green Goblin.
Yes.
This is Amazing Spider-Man number 14.
Yes.
If you wanted to get a near mint copy back in 1976,
yes,
it would have cost you $10.
Bargain.
$10.
Bargain.
But now let's just say you were shopping around today on the internet and you wanted to pick up a copy. As I've been
known to do.
You wanted to pick up a copy of Spider-Man 14 in near mint condition.
Ooh.
What do you think it would run you for it? What do you think it would run you?
$14,500.
$14,500. Well, according to the old price guide of love, the answer is 26 grand. Actually, that's the current fair market value. That's not even according to this. So that's probably 26 grand is probably a pretty good estimate.
Nice.
A $10 investment in 1976 would reap you $26,000 right now. And that's pretty amazing.
That's a lot of money for back then, though.
I see JC's in the green room. JC, we'll be with you in 1 second. Sit tight. We've got one more thing to do, and I will bring you in, and we'll start talking. Actually, you know what?
What?
I could bring JC in because we have one more thing to do.
And I always need help with it?
You might need some help. So let's do this.
Okay, bring it.
With me today And Shelley as well.
Ooh,
oh, hang on.
Matt.
Wow, Matt. Oh, sorry. Did I get your knee?
That's
Sorry
okay.
about that.
I have another one.
Look at that. Look at that. Matt Hepp says, to
Thanks,
clarify
Matt.
earlier why I didn't like the new 52, Steve Ditko had his works changed to the being unrecognizable. The question was one of the original sin with no payoff, and the creeper was a demon spirit instead of his alter ego. Okay, well, I actually didn't read any of the new 52 creeper stuff, so I would agree with that. That's horrible. So, but thank you for the $20. So,
thank you, sir.
What's this?
Right there.
But getting Wraith of God's first book, $25 right now, if my price guide is right. Yeah,
Yep.
now, but it's going to go up, baby. That's going to go up.
I'm so excited. It's so much fun to see him excited about it. See you, really excited to work and not I gotta work.
Well, let's bring in JC. He's getting impatient. He's going to leave.
I know. You can see him just like, I got stuff to do.
I know. He's like, can we move this along?
Let's do it.
Okay. So I've known JC Vaughn since the early Malibu days.
Ooh.
And before he actually got on it, the Overstreet price guide.
Nice.
Now he's a big wig there. Huge wig. Gigantic
you
wig.
Name dropping, like I know people. I got people.
I know people.
Okay.
And right now he's the VP of publishing, which I think is second in charge if I look at the little command center stuff at Overstreet. So that's pretty impressive. So everybody, put your hands together. Give us a warm welcome for Mr. JC, calls himself Tex Vaughn from Texas. Here he is. JC,
good evening.
For joining us.
Hi.
I'm very glad to be here. I would like to point out, however, a small error.
Uh-oh.
I am a no wig, quite obviously, not a big wig.
You are not alone, my friend.
See, that's why I thought you were going to come in with your cowboy hat to keep that.
I thought about it.
Say, there you got it. You got it handy.
Now it makes sense. Tex.
All right, JC, I don't know if you've ever met Shelley before on the convention.
Unless you were at the booth at San Diego in 94, 95. And if
yes.
you were there,
possible.
That's when I actually would go to the booth.
Possibly. Other than that, Shelley, I'm very glad to make your acquaintance.
Thank you. You too. Yeah, I was back in the days where I was a good wife and stayed at the table.
Those days are gone.
Alley. It was still Artist Alley.
Yeah, those days are gone, baby.
Yeah, now I go, what time is dinner? And that's when I show up. Yeah.
Yeah, the last time Rosina came to San Diego, I don't know if she made it to the floor. I know she slept most of the time. And so it was like it was what passed for a vacation that year. So
that's right. Well, she's always like, yeah, what time you guys going for dinner? Yeah, I'll meet you there.
Yep, I'm gonna take a nap, watch a movie.
She did help Steve Jeppy's daughter Missy conspire to set up my surprise party for my promotion to vice president that San Diego. Other than that, I think that was 103 years ago. No, I don't know. It was.
Well, and we used to. My birthday used to happen on San Diego almost every year, so we'd always have. Don't look at me like that.
No, I'm listening to your story. I'm intently listening to your story. I'm not.
Yeah. So yeah, he was pretty good about ordering cake, and we'd always have a little bit together.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah. See, Shelley's Aaron's booth,
and
babe.
The great thing is that San Diego is the only convention where you can eat well and healthy. Yeah,
but we never really ate healthy. Well. We just ate well.
You can get a lot of decent eating that is healthy there, and I appreciate that because I don't want to eat healthy all the time, and so I got to eat healthy some of the time.
There you go. Well, it was always good food and good company, and it was fun, and
that's the best part. Conversations are the best part.
Yeah,
that was the one place where you could always hook up with people you haven't seen. Usually in a year, sometimes more, and so we'll see how when it comes back together here in July, how it actually all plays out. But
I've often said I have lunch. Usually, I have lunch on Saturday with Tom Mason and Dave Olbrich, and I basically have said, like, if I flew in that morning and flew out that night, my San Diego would be complete. So it really is about the relationship stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about you a little bit. And I want to know this now, are you a collector or a reader or both? How would you classify yourself as a comic book fan overall?
reader first these days. I'm definitely still a collector. I definitely still enjoy collecting, but I read a lot more comics that I might not hang on to. I might pass along to a friend and say, "Hey, check this out. It's cool." Or, "Hey, check this out. This guy's really missing the mark," or things like that. The ones I collect, it's a lot narrower gap than it used to be. I find that I had to do that to stay passionate about it. And since I work writing about comics, and I write comics, and I collect comics, if comics goes south for me, things are pretty bad. So I have to be pretty vigilant about that. I don't finish miniseries if they're boring. And the worst thing you could do is bore me. I'm not looking for people to agree with me. I'm not looking for that kind of stuff. I'm just looking for, don't bore me.
Right. Well, I mean, the comic book is supposed to be, on the very essence of it is fun, entertainment, escapism, all those things. And if you miss the mark on those things, then it's like, why would I waste my time reading this? You know, I mean, you got to hit the mark. I think those are kind of like the essential tent posts that you have to hit. And then everything else from there is, gravy, as they say.
Yeah. I think of that. There's a lot of folks that don't seem to get that right now. They seem to think like having a really cool central idea, which is a great place to start. Yeah. They tend to think that it's enough, is what it seems like to me.
All right. Well, we're going to take a quick sidebar here because I almost forgot. We have this little thing we do with Shelley every week as our last little thing. But you're kind of the backup here. I don't know. Are you a Star Trek fan at all?
Yeah, I am a Star Trek fan.
Okay. Well, then you'll probably I gave it away. But let's take a look. Okay. This is what we call a little segment we call Shelley Knows, and we find out what Shelley knows. Okay. So let's find out what Shelley knows.
Okay.
So I'm gonna throw her some softballs. If she gets stuck, I'll call on you to kind of bail her out. Okay, JC.
Okay.
Now the first one's pretty easy. So, but let me get this on screen here before you blurt out the answer.
I'm no blurting.
No, you were ready to blurt.
I was ready to blurt. I will admit it.
Okay. So of course this is the classic, classic episode arena. Who is this, Shelley?
The Gorn.
Look at that. I've got action figures to prove it. So that's okay. That's one down. That's good.
Okay, good. I feel so much better about myself. I was worried there for a minute.
Okay. Let's take a look at another one. This might be a little bit trickier. We'll see. We'll see how she does on. Oh, she's already. She gets a little preview before I can actually bring it up on the screen.
Chat.
So, all right. This was from A Private Little War, which was sort of a little morality tale on the Vietnam War. And this thing showed up and put the bite on Kirk. What do you think, Shelley? She's going to cheat. She has no clue. I have the toy. And the toy, look, he's right up there on the shelf. He's right up there on the shelf.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
It still doesn't help me, though. I have no idea.
JC, can you bail her out on this?
Magato.
There you go.
Oh, that's what I've heard you say that like a ton of times, but I didn't know what it was. Nice work.
Yeah, it's kind of like a cross between a gorilla and a rhino, I guess. Not really sure how that works, but there it is.
Strangely enough, much like the animals in the post-apocalyptic world of Gold Key's Mighty Samson, where they were like the Lio Bear and the Rhino Gorilla.
That is some obscure comic knowledge he's dropping on us right now. Okay, Shelley, you know who this is? This is from the Man Trap episode, which was the first episode. Yeah, the first one they aired, but not the first one they filmed. Very interesting, but
that's gross.
You don't come on. You don't know who that is?
Well, I'm assuming it was a character
he grabbed Kirk, and Kirk goes, "Ah!"
And a role normally reserved for Chekhov.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
Shelley, you can't. Nothing.
I like the average Twitter user. That's close. That's the answer I'm going with.
All right,
Salt
Jason.
monster.
Salt vampire.
You called it. Now, see what we called it around the house was the salt sucker.
Oh yeah, Postmaster Dan got that one.
So I think we could
Aaron in the morning.
So we. Hey now.
Leg kick.
Wait a minute. Was that who said that?
I think it was like. Yep.
Okay. Excuse me a second, JC. I've got to take care of this. I can't have this kind of uprising in the chat. All right. Well, so there you go. Leg kick. See. So I think salt vampire, salt sucker, or what was a salt creature, all probably would have been acceptable answers. And of course, Shelley got
1 for 3.
none of those.
No.
So, all right, let's.
I told you, Shelley don't know a lot of stuff.
Let's go.
You don't even ask me anything math or physics. That's the only stuff I know.
I did the one time. You did actually quite well. So
Thank you.
know. But we have to see how well rounded you are.
Oh, I don't know this one either.
Okay. Now this is the one I used to call the lunch pizza episode, because this is what, when you get like the lunch pizza at school, that's what it used to look like. At least the ones I got. So do you have any clue here, Shelley? This, of course, is from Devil in the Dark, one of your favorite episodes. I can't believe that you don't know this creature's name.
Is it in the chat? Because I did look at
It was Leonard McCoy's girlfriend. I think she's talking about the salt sucker, not this guy.
Pasta monster. Pasta monster.
Wait a minute. Here's a good clue, right? Space herpes? Not. No. Nope. That's not it either.
Ooh. Horta.
You cheetah. You cheetah. The Horta.
I would just like to say, as an observation very quickly, Darth Josh seems to know his Star Trek.
Yes. He's coming in strong.
Darth.
He's up here in Oregon with us too. So, look at this. Green Laser's getting he's one-upping him. It's Horta and the eggs in the background. So, which were
silicon-based life form.
That's right. Silicon nodules, right?
Oh my goodness. Oh, Geek Avenger. Yeah, no, I looked at the chat, so I owe you guys that one.
We got one more. We're gonna give a shot.
I need 1 for 4.
And then, we'll see. Yeah, you're not doing well, Shelley.
You need to let me know so I can study.
That's not the point of the show. Okay. So who are these 3 bodiless brains? What are they called? What are they known as?
The 3 wise men.
To bet 7 Quatloos that she does not know the answer.
10 Quatloos.
14 Quatloos.
20 Quatloos on the newcomer.
I have no idea.
Wait a minute. This is a good one. Eric Boyd came in just a little late, though. Jabba the Hutt's sister for the Horta.
Yes.
That might have...
I have no idea.
Well, the episode was called The Gamesters of Triskelion.
You say that a lot, too.
I do. But these were
now
actually...
I have pictures?
JC, what would you say these guys were called? I'm looking for a certain answer, but I guess you could have called them 2 different things. But go ahead. What would you say?
I actually would have called them the Triskelions, or the survivors of the Triskelions, because they had evolved to a point where there's just these giant brains.
But what did the Thralls call them?
Oh,
yeah.
Ooh. Okay.
They called them. I'm going
to wager 5 Quatloos. I don't know the answer to this one.
Okay. Well, I'll give you the answer. The answer is actually the providers.
The providers?
Yes, they did.
The providers.
Now, that was not a term of genealogy. That was what they were. That was their station.
Yes.
But I mean, I'd have to concede that point. But they were the Triskelions.
Yes.
I like it.
Well, but they called them the providers, so I would have accepted either.
Wow.
I was flexible.
Wow.
So basically, what we've determined is that Shelley doesn't know Star Trek monsters.
I really.
But JC Vaughn does.
You know why? I would have, if I had watched with you guys. They used to watch. It was almost like every night for a while. And Mom would come down with her Star Trek robe on, and you guys would all watch.
Yes, my 90-year-old mother, and I'd made my daughter watch it too, because I wanted to make sure that she got hooked on Trek.
On real Star Trek.
Yeah. Oh, classic. Only classic. There is nothing else. Come on now.
Oh, well, darn it.
I think we need to address this right away. I'm sorry. That's the wrong one.
Look at this one.
Yeah, JC sounds smart. I bet he loves Atari Force. What are your feelings on Atari Force, JC?
I just picked up a really nice copy of the Star Raiders graphic novel that Jose Luis Garcia Lopez illustrated. Mm-hmm. And I liked Atari Force.
Wait a minute, I'm sorry.
When the comic was coming out?
Did you say you liked Atari Force? I just want to. Okay. I just wanted to make sure that I heard that correctly.
Wrong answer.
I enjoyed it.
Now you got yourself a cannonball.
And what's funny is I'm pretty much a Marvel kid.
Me
so
too.
A lot of the DC stuff, other than Batman, that I liked was the weirder stuff.
From DC,
like New Teen Titans when Marv and George were doing it. I mean, you couldn't miss that.
Well, wait a minute. You'd consider that the weirder stuff?
No. That's an exception.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah. Cause I mean, I like Dead Man, Swamp Things, The Phantom Stranger, House of Mystery, those type of things I read, but everything else for superhero, I was always Marvel.
Yeah.
And I read the Marvel Monster books as well. So,
like my first two DC regular titles lasted a combined 16 issues. It was Black Lightning and Firestorm, which were very Marvel titles.
Yes. Okay, so let's take you back to the beginning, okay? And let's get your origin story. How did you first land your job at Overstreet? What were you doing, and then what led to you hooking up with Overstreet, which I would have guessed, I think we talked about this earlier, like 94, 5, somewhere in that neighborhood?
Yeah, absolutely. I worked for about 12 years, real close to 12 years, for Avis Rent-A-Car at Dallas-Fort Worth Airport. That was my first career. I came from an airline family, so my dad was laid off for a few months. It was very natural for me to go to the airport for a job. And I started there, figured I'd be there 3 months. 12 years later, at year 11, I went to my bosses, who are still my dear friends, and said, I'm afraid not to do what I want to do. And they go, okay. And because they knew I wasn't going to slack off while I was there. And they were great references and things like that. But I started networking, and it was early days of email for, the private sector. And Tom Mason at Malibu hooked me up with a bunch of starter interviews that I did with people. Some of them knowing it would never get published, some of it knowing I was just trying to break in. Right. Steve Gerber, Tom himself, and Jim Hudnall were absolutely golden to me, and really just took time. And, they didn't know if I was going to amount to anything. And so I never forget that stuff. And so I did that about 13 months. I actually broke in pretty darn quick as it worked out. I was doing an interview with Terry Moore for About Strangers in Paradise, and one of the distributor catalogs needed something from him. And so as soon as we finished, we had a place for it, and it ended up becoming my first published piece by about a day before the next day, Overstreet's Comic Book Monthly number 16 came out, and I started freelancing for them on a regular basis. Bob Overstreet sold the company to Steve Jeppy. Some of the people didn't want to make the move from Tennessee to Maryland, opened up a job. I went in for the interview. I called Rosina from the hotel next door to the building, and it was about 8 o'clock in the morning. And I said, hey, do I take this job? And she says, you haven't had the interview yet. And I'm like, I'm getting the job. And I don't have that kind of confidence. I have no idea where it came from. So I'll just say grace of God and just leave it at that. But that's sort of the attitude I went into. And I went in, desperately wanting the job, but at the same time, that's how I ended up there. And I was hired to be the associate editor of our magazine, Overstreet's Fan, which was a Wizard competitor. It was an outgrowth of their old magazine, Overstreet's Comic Book Monthly, and went from there.
And just climbed the ladder and doing quite well for yourself, and that's fabulous. Okay, so I asked you this through the email, so I could prep a little bit to show some visuals. But when you finally got in a position where you were in charge of or associated with getting the covers commissioned for the price guide, you said the first two you had a hand in. Well, let me bring these up so people can see them. And I hope I got the right one here. We'll start with this one. Where the Alex Ross for number 27. Right now, he did this one, which was the remake of Flash Comics number 1, right?
Yep.
And then this one, which is one of my favorite Golden Age covers. Sorry, I have to push about 100 buttons to make this happen. But
All American number 16.
Yeah, the first appearance of the original Green Lantern. So now, you said you were involved in the process of getting these covers.
That was it was talked about in the staff, and obviously Bob Overstreet, and you can look at his track record on covers. And Bob Overstreet had a big hand in it. My former boss, John Snyder, Steve Jeppy himself, and those guys always kicked around the cover ideas. And once we had decided on Alex Ross, and had decided that we were going to go the 2 cover route. There was a bunch of what recreations could we have this guy do, because obviously Alex's bread and butter, at least it's some part of it, has been bringing new interpretation, particularly new lighting, and life to some classic pieces. And he's obviously done an incredible job of that. And I don't mean to say that's his whole shtick or anything like that. It's just for our purposes, doing spot on modern recreations of great golden age stuff. We couldn't have done any better than reaching out to him. So I was involved in the discussions, and then I was the one who actually reached out to Alex and got the thing going and traffic managed those, and also his covers on 29, which was the Avengers 4 recreation and the first Superboy and Legion of Superheroes, which I think if you look at that one, and like I said, I'm a Marvel kid, but that the Superboy recreation from Adventure Comics looks like a great science fiction paperback.
Yeah. Now you had told me also that this now hopefully I heard you correctly, that this was actually the first one you kind of put together on your own, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And matter of fact, John Snyder III, his dad was my boss, and he did not want any cries of favoritism. It took me 5 years to get him to let me have Johnny do a cover.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That is fun. Wow.
And I so love this. This always ranks as one of our favorite covers whenever we do surveys. Not surprisingly, Joe Kubert's Tarzan on number 5 tends to win a lot.
You mean this one?
Yeah, baby. Absolutely.
I just happen to have sitting right here. You mean this one?
Absolutely. And I think John nailed it. And one of the things here is, I'm not one of these people who thinks it's sacrilege to say not every work of Jack Kirby's was his best work. And the cover of FF1 is dynamic and everything else like that. But on the original, you've got, Human Torch is flying in. The Thing's ready to hit the monster. The monsters grab Sue, and Reed's like, "Ooh, rope."
I know who tied him up.
and I so like when I gave John the assignment, I said, Reed's got to be doing something other than going, "Ooh, rope."
That's funny. So after this point, then were you sort of responsible for commissioning all the covers?
On and off. I trafficked all of them. I had my hands in almost all of them. Certainly from that point on, I at least had my fingerprints in them, if not picking them. There's some that absolutely came from above. John and Steve and Bob, they were all happy to have little Lulu. I'm like, okay, I sort of guessed exactly how many it was going to sell.
Yeah. And do you take that into consideration too? As like, what are you guys putting on the cover to make sure you sell as many copies?
I absolutely listen. If you look at what we call our Hall of Fame editions, or if you look at the the oversized edition, which is limited, those are much more likely to reflect my personal taste. The rest of it is, what do fans want to see? I'm not in business to have inventory. I'm in business to sell out.
Right.
And it's that simple. Is Marvel or DC or Archie or somebody else doing a TV show or a movie that's going to help me sell this? I don't have a big advertising budget. So anytime I can get anything like that. Now, truthfully, I don't want it to be just about that. I want it to be a really cool art piece.
Right.
We've had Valiant covers well before they were making movies. And we'll continue to do that kind of thing. But by and large, the first thing was going to be, is this going to help the book sell? And is it an artist who is going to treat the book, quite honestly, is it the artist that's going to treat the book like a bucket list item? I don't want a great artist phoning something in.
Definitely. Look at that.
Oh, that Russ Heath Overstreet cover, Hyper Potato. Man, let me tell you, one of the coolest things that ever happened for me at San Diego. We had Russ Heath at the booth. It wasn't a big announced thing or anything like that. We just sat him down, and instantly had about 8-10 people in line, one of whom was Howard Chaykin, who wanted to get Russ Heath to sign his prize guide.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
So that was freaking great.
Yes. Okay, so I want to just do I have like every copy of the price guide. I'm not going to show every single one of them, but I have every copy from 5 and up.
Now you went back and got 5, right? You started with 6.
Yeah, my first one was 6, right? Which was the one I've been using to do my what it's worth segment. But so I got this in the bookstore. This is the first time I saw this on the stands in the B. Dalton Bookseller, I believe was the bookstore in the mall.
It was the first one to go into the bookstores.
Was it? Because I had never seen one of these before.
You want to hear a great name dropping story on that one?
Yes.
All right. So on like Christmas Eve, Bob gets a call from the bookstore publisher, and they say, "You can't use this cover. It's by Will Eisner." And they're like, and he's like, "Yeah, it's by Will Eisner." And you go, he just did the covers to a line of cookbooks for us, and they bombed. And Bob says, I don't have time to get another cover. That's the cover. And he goes, well, then you're going to have to take his name off of it. So Bob called Will Eisner on Christmas Eve and told him this story. And Bob will tell you this, Will was Mr. Professional.
Right.
Because I totally understand, no problem whatsoever. He was so gracious that Bob refused to take the name off. And it sold 100,000 copies.
Well, okay, that's such an advertising dumb thing to say, but I'm not surprised at all. Yeah. But then we followed up with this one, and you can see the thing I want to point out about this is kind of funny is, okay, these are the first 2 that I owned. There we go. And you probably can't see that well, but they are beat to heck, right? They are well worn. I was a kid who used these things religiously, but then I started realizing that I should take care of these. So I'm going to steal the screen for myself just here for 1 second. But this baby, number 8, the Bill Ward cover, is still in really, really nice condition. So I started to realize that, you know what? Be careful when you look at these, Aaron. Be careful, because maybe someday they'll be worth something. And to that point, I was just on your website, and if I wanted to get a soft cover copy of number 3, which has that Justice League of America, the Hawkman flying out and everything, that was that's number 4. That was the first cover that actually had like art dedicated.
Yeah, Don Newton, I think if I'm correct, right before he became a professional comic book artist, I think he was an art teacher at that point.
Really?
I think my friend John Clark, who used to be our editor-in-chief for Disney Comics, told me that was what he was doing at the time.
Well, that book on your website is $165.
Yeah.
So you guys still have some of those sitting around from the original program?
If they're on the site and priced, we have uncirculated copies. Of course, usually if a number 1 comes up, it's usually at like Heritage Auctions or some other auction house, and we've had them sell for $9,000. We had one sell. We had one sell earlier this year, or late last year rather. What was the price? I'm totally blanking on the price right now. Maybe like 45,000, something like that.
God, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, and I got then this one was the Wally Wood kind of EC sci-fi cover, right? Kind of reminiscent of that. That's number 9. That was 1979.
Yeah. And you look at that and you realize there's no marquee character there. It is just Wally Wood doing the EC style.
Right.
And it's just so killer.
Well, it's funny because a lot of these covers played up to the fandom themselves, right? Because I mean, most people, obviously, if you do a Bill Ward cover with some sexy women on it, people are going to buy it. But it was like the true collectors understood what this meant, and what this was. And the same with the Wally Wood cover, right? And we follow that one up with number 10 here, which was Alex. Look at you, you know your stuff. Alex Schomburg, World War II, all winners, all select cover, if you will. Later known as the Invaders. When they brought him back in the 70s, but Schomburg used to live not far from us, and I didn't know it until after he passed away, unfortunately, or I would have invaded his home.
Sure.
But he lived, I believe, in Newburgh, Oregon, which is not that far from us. And so that was kind of an interesting thing to find out. Unfortunately, I found out too late. But again, this was, even in this would have been 1979. This would have been 1980, I guess. Number 10 would have been 1980.
Yeah, 1980.
This was still so nostalgic, even at that point. You know, and we're talking, what, 30 some years ago now, or 40 years ago. 40. But even as in 1980, I was 16, which may explain why these are in better condition, because I started figuring out, I take care of that stuff. But Golden Age books were still, even in, the 70s and 80s, even though we were only less than, or maybe just 20 years removed from it, we're so nostalgic. And it was like, that was like the dream, right? To get Golden Age books, because those were they seemed like, they were obviously another era, but the war years and all that kind of stuff, it's just, there's so much nostalgia attached to that stuff. And I remember seeing that cover and was just so excited for it. But okay, so that was my little trip down memory lane. But I got a question. Then I asked you this question when we were on Billy and Niall's show last week. But let's revisit it again. We had someone in the question, the chat wanted to know, how does, with all this crowdfunding, if you're doing a crowdfunding book or whatever, small press books, these types of things, how does someone go about getting their book in the price guide? How does it get to be considered?
That's a great question. There's a standard answer for it, and that's this. If you look in the price guide, in the about this book, comic book style introduction for the guide, right before Bob's Market Report. Okay. The last page of that has our address on it. That's also on the Indicia page. If you send a copy or two, preferably two, but one will be fine, to the attention of Mark Huseman, whose name is on our title page. Okay. He's our creative director, and he's the guy who actually physically puts the guide together and coordinates with Bob and his pricing editor.
Okay, what was it? Mark
Huseman,
right? Okay, so this is the last year's price guide, and it's right there under Gemstone Publishing. It gives everybody's name, including yours, of course. So his name is right there, and this is like,
and then on the next page, you'll see, I think you'll probably get our address there. And if not, like I said, it's in the About This Book thing.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah, under the copyright notices right there on the back side of that. It's right there. Okay.
And one of the things that a lot of indie guys, real indie guys, make the mistake of is, even if you're not doing a barcode, which you don't need to do Kickstarter, and that's not a requirement for us to be in there, but we do need indicia to tell us what the real title of the thing is, and if you have a publishing company or if it's just your name or whatever. But we need to be able to have that information. That will greatly enhance the chances of something getting in. I will say, to be fair, the professionalism of something getting in. It's not about whether it is highly recognizable characters. It's not being superheroes. It's not being any particular genre, but it is having the information readily accessible to us as the people who might be listing it.
Right. Okay. I have to take care of some sass in the chat here. Sorry about that, JC. But and Dino says those price guides are older than most people in the chat. Respect your elders, man. That's what I got to tell you. Hyper Potato. This is interesting. I didn't pull this one out, but you'll know the cover. That first Overstreet. Oh, sure. 1981. It was a hard sell to my parents with a devil with a skeleton head. It was an LB Cole cover. You know the one. He's menacing that girl.
It was an LB Cole cover. Absolutely.
Yep. I remember that being a classic as well.
It really, if you go back and look at Bob's first 10 covers, go back and look at his first, seriously, first 13 covers, and you just realize that's the standard that I've had set for me. That's why it's one of it probably doesn't affect the guide any more than, say, 5,000 sales. And I think 5,000 is at the outside. I think people who are going to buy the guide largely are going to buy the guide. But where you have every once in a while, you'll have one that comes along where automatically that's going to be the big seller before anybody else has seen it. And like literally when I commissioned it, Todd McFarlane doing Spider-Man and Spawn together, you just know what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. But that said, every year, that's the challenge I'm faced with. And just take 5, 6, and 7. Seriously. Kubert, Eisner, Barks. So every year, that's what I match myself up against. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, did I show the Barks one? Yeah, I did.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, and there's
the
great story behind that is Disney wouldn't let him do the ducks. Carl Barks was not allowed to do the ducks during that period.
So he did Warner Brothers, which is really unusual because he never did any Warner Brothers comics, did he? No,
nope.
It was all Disney. That's so funny because I'd never even thought of that, but yeah, that's exactly what that is. So I want to circle back before I forget. You had said that number 6 was the first one to actually be in a bookstore. Where were the first 5 being sold?
Through the first one particularly, RBCC and fanzines, and
really. So basically,
Bob basically ran an ad, printed 1,000 of them, and he said it was sort of cool. A check could come in every day, or he'd get money every day.
What do you know? I'm sure you do, but the history of that. What kind of motivated Overstreet to say, "Hey, we need a price guide for comics"?
Sure, that's a great thing. First off, without EC Comics, there would not have been an Overstreet comic book price guide. Bob is an EC guy from way back, and he was very active in EC fandom. Had a good friend, and they would travel around trying to find the best copies. And Bob was also a coin collector, so he knew the price guides in the coin market, and he kept on trying to help other people do price guides. And finally figured out nobody's going to do this. They're all going to say they're going to help me, and they won't. And went and did it. Even when the first one came out, and even when he had to go back to press and do corrections, and because he sold out of it, he took the time to do some corrections between the first and second printings of the first one. He wasn't all that sure he was going to do another one. He didn't know you needed to. And then,
so he basically put that thing together and then just kind of took ads and fanzines, a comic buyer's guide, all these other things and sell it through. Wow, that's amazing. So how did do you know the story behind, I mean, when you're basically the first one to do something like this, how do you establish your grading standards?
Grading standards, that's a really good question. Bob has always been incredibly solicitous. And matter of fact, my old boss, John, said that he thought that was the only thing that Bob was dogmatic about, was listening to other people.
Oh, really?
And I think that's a rare commodity.
Yes.
And and one thing I want to say, and I'm really proud to be associated with this, is that Bob is a straight shooter on the prices and the influences. He never, until San Diego with price guide number 40, and that was with months and months of me badgering him, did he ever let a convention pay his way.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. And, so he was, Bob Overstreet was a stand-up guy, is what you're telling me.
And he was and still is.
Interesting. Okay, someone wants to know if you could expand just a little bit. Hyper Potato wants to know, why was Barks not allowed to do the ducks?
That was a falling out between Disney and Barks at the time. I think it lasted about, there's people way more knowledgeable on this subject than me. I think it was about a year and a half, but I don't know if I don't know that I have that correct.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this then. One of the listings you'll find, obviously, in the price guide, it's usually on older books, but not always, but mostly older, Golden Age or older Silver Age books. You'll have this designation for classic cover.
Yes.
Okay. Number one, how is that determined? I'll just do this in two parts. First, how is that determined?
How is that determined is frequently, and I don't think I fully answered the last question because we just sort of went off on a tangent there. One of the things about Bob is he's always thought about, we were talking about grading, how are the standards developed. Bob has always listened to a lot of other people.
Right.
And we're a guide. We're not the leaders of the market. We're describing the market. So he has always worked very hard and encultured in us. And when he sold Overstreet Publications to Gemstone, it became part of our corporate philosophy, is we are there to get the broadest spectrum of opinions possible and distill them as honestly and concisely as we can. So grading was an evolving art. And I will say that in some smaller senses, it's continuing to evolve. But largely, even the first grading guide had a 100-point system where we've got the 10-point system now. And very similar, but I think a lot more clearly delineated now. So those all evolved over time. So if you look at the top of the guide in Price Guide number 1, when Action Comics number 1 was a whopping $300 and Detective Comics 27 was $275 in second place, the top of the guide was listed as mint.
Right.
And that did not last super long, where we finally started saying near mint plus, all that kind of stuff like that, because we decided that mint is really truly rare.
Right.
And so most of the stuff, like classic covers, come from suggestions from maybe as few as one person making the suggestion, and then sort of looking at a criteria of, is there some consensus on this? Do people agree with this statement? Are we going to be going out on a limb saying that because, hey, we like it? Because you always have to check yourself and say, is this personal choice? Because it might be like, say, if I was picking all the covers of Sludge, you know, and it can't just be about what I like. We got to have some consensus on it.
Right. Okay.
And of course, there is nearly universal acclaim that Sludge was wonderful. So
yes, of course, that goes without saying. Now, I realize that there's certain covers that we all sort of look at and just go, wow. Even if maybe if you haven't seen it, it kind of feels like you've seen it before, right?
Yeah.
Now, I've been pushing for this. I actually wrote a letter to somebody, and I want to do it again because I really think, and I'm not just saying this because I own a copy of it. Okay, this comic is freaking hard to find, as you can imagine. But to me, that is a classic image of all the National Comics covers.
I would say, Mr. Lopresti, you should send me an email to that effect that I can forward to Bob and others, and I would actually absolutely support that. Because you know what? I can tell you right now, I can find enough advisors that would agree with that because it's a freaking great cover.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's two covers. I happen to have both of them in that run of National Comics. One is by Lou Fine, and it has the German air soldier crashed in the foreground. His head's, kind of like that, and Uncle Sam's behind him with a big circle behind him, and it's a great image. But to me, I remember seeing, of course, the photo gallery that they always put in the back of. Well, maybe they didn't. Where was it? Probably started in 76.
The color galleries were in the. Sometimes they were in the center. Truthfully, I should map that out so I know when.
Yeah, I think 76. It looks like this is the first one that had it. But I remember seeing, most of course the ones in here are Golden Age books to some degree. And some of them are interesting, but a couple of them were just like, wow, that just feels iconic. And that's where I first saw that cover when I was a kid. It was either this price guide or the following one that had that image of National Comics with Uncle Sam by Reed Crandall rolling his sleeve up. And as a kid, I was like, someday I've got to get that book. And just from seeing the cover once, and I searched for years and years and years and finally got that copy through Motor City Comics, like maybe 20 years ago.
Absolutely, man. And there's things like, immediately you're going to do that. And this goes for modern comics absolutely as well. Like stuff I was getting off the stands in the 70s or stuff I get today. Mike Zeck's cover for Master of Kung Fu 83. I had a handful of issues of Galassi before that. And I always thought it was cool, but I was never a regular reader. And I saw the cover, the Shang-Chi in front of Fu Manchu backdrop kind of cover, a sort of movie poster montage kind of thing on 83. And I'm like, I remember I was at a place called the Village Newsstand at South Hills Village in suburban Pittsburgh. Yeah. And I was like, crap, I'm going to get this series now.
That was 83?
Yeah.
I'm going to bring it up real quick here. I think I know which one you're talking about, but I want to, holy crap. Yeah. All right. Let me share screen so everybody can see this.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. There it is.
Is that just a cover? I mean, like, if you have any affinity for action films or martial arts, how can you not buy that comic?
Yeah, absolutely. The funny thing is, in this 40 cent, that would have been probably what, early 80s, maybe?
Yeah, probably like late 70s.
Because I
don't know.
Probably says so right on here.
Because part of the thing is I usually base things on when I move, when I moved to Texas, but the fact is that I was in Pittsburgh all the time anyway, so I still absolutely am, because now all of a sudden I go, didn't I buy it at the Village Newsstand? But yeah, I did. I was just probably back visiting.
No, I'm trying to find real quickly here what year that was, but being a 40 cent comic, it had to have been early 80s, because I don't think makes sense. It seems to me that like the 70s sort of ended on 35 centers. I may be mistaken, but yeah, I mean, it's interesting because everybody has their favorite covers, like you said, right? And so you have to sort of remove yourself from your personal interests and say, okay, what constitutes a classic cover? Is this one really as iconic as maybe I think it is, or is it not?
We've got a regular feature in our Scoop email newsletter called Cover Story. And I wrote it for a few years. Some other people write right now. Scott Braden is writing it. And we just go in and like literally we have the only test is this cover, what about it makes you say I would have bought that or made you buy it? Mm-hmm. I did one on She #1 because I saw it three rows away on the top rack, and I crossed the store to get it. And
there you go. I mean, that's the kind of thing. It's like if you're doing this through a rack of comics and boom, you stop right there. You know,
when my partner Vincent Spencer and I were working on Zombie Proof, we went down to Village Comics, and they had this long rack of all the new stuff, and we said, "What aren't other people doing?" Mm-hmm. And we said, "Okay, I don't see a lot of yellow." So one of our covers, we had two. One of our covers was a Yellow Pages ad for the character. And it was just because we were trying to say, well, okay, what did stand out? And I really appreciate when somebody puts in that kind of work. I also remember early days in my career going to Marvel or going to DC, and in their bullpen or editorial areas, seeing tacked up on the wall that month's covers, and you'd see like 6 covers that were the same.
Yeah. That's the thing. And it's like, I mean, that's the whole key. And I've talked about this before, just talking about comic book covers, is that's the last thing you want is your cover to be blending in with, 200 or 300 other covers right there. You want to do something that's going to, stop their attention. And I think you don't really think about it, in terms of something like the price guide, but it's just as important, right?
Yeah. We don't want to always do the same thing. So Sequential Treasures, Master of Kung Fu 83, cover date is December of 79. So it would have been out in October of 79. So I could have bought it right before I moved to Texas.
There you go.
So as a for instance, one of the things about it not being my taste doesn't mean that I don't still have patterns. And patterns you can only see over a period of years in the price guide because we're an annual. Right. And it's very clear that my default character is Batman.
Oh, so you just got to line them all and go, how many times have I picked Batman?
Batman, Bat characters, Batman, Bat characters.
Well, I mean, you can't argue the fact that, Batman clearly sells, so it's never a bad choice to put Batman on the cover, right?
Oh yeah. And especially if you got great artists, the price guide, the covers have largely been predominantly my influence since number 40. That was the first one where I was flying without a net. I couldn't say, oh, the boss made me pick that one.
Right.
And I had Mark Chiarello do Batman.
That's right. That was a cool one. And very sort of graphic in the way it was.
Absolutely. And what's cool is that like within a couple of months, like Cliff Chang did a Wonder Woman cover that was, it seemed, and I'm not saying ripped off, I'm saying inspired, because it was the same orange and the same sort of iconic nature.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And that was really cool. And of course, that same year I had Darwin Cook doing Captain America. So
yeah, you can't, I mean, yeah, that was a pretty good cover list there. Okay, this is something else I wanted to ask you about, because I find this sort of interesting. In the 90s, you guys were doing, when you got on board, Overstreet was doing these monthly price updates because the market was so volatile at that time. And a lot of that had to do with Image Comics, you know, and that was during the boom years, right? So everything was, you know, values were going crazy like this. Now, in the last couple of years since COVID, we've seen that in the collector's market, but we've seen it with older books, right? Not so much the newer stuff. There is to a certain degree.
Them too.
That's true in first appearances and things like that. Yeah. So do you guys ever get to a point where you're starting thinking, maybe we should be doing updates rather than just an annual book, because when the market starts getting crazy like it is right now again?
Why, yes, we do.
So can I follow up on that, or is this?
Yeah, I will say it's no big secret. Steve talked about it on Dan Shaheen's show, and it's really basically we're going to have a digital version, and that will have
makes sense.
More prices. There will be things in there listed that aren't in the guide. Some of the stuff not in the guide, quite frankly, there is way too many freaking variants right now out of the modern comics.
Yeah.
And most of them don't get any real traction beyond what the regular issues do. But some of them do. Those are the ones that we've been focused on in the last, say, 5 years. I'd like to be a lot more inclusive and have everything in there. And the digital space will, where there aren't the space constraints, will enable us to do that. It by no means means the end of the print version of the guide. And in fact, in some ways, I think we're going to end up selling more. It'll just be a bit different.
Yeah, I've got a question about that, but that's kind of near the end, so I won't jump on that now. We'll circle back to that. So let me ask you this. You guys have been doing the price guide now, you've been involved for, since the 90s, but obviously since, the first one was 1970, right? So you guys must have sat around at some point and said, should we be doing a price guide for original art?
Yes.
Has that ever come up? And
sure.
What do you think about that?
Matter of fact, Jerry Wiest did 2 editions of one. And we ended up buying out the stock of the number 2, and I think
I remember seeing a price guide for original art. That must be what you were talking about. And
yeah, it had a great Alex Ross cover. A great Alex Ross cover, and in combining the drawing of comic art and the comic itself, it was a beautiful image. Submariner.
Yeah.
But I think a physical price guide for comic art, and I'm wide open to being schooled on this. I rarely state such strong opinions, but here's one.
Okay.
I think a physical price guide for comic art is idiocy. Because if you've got, let's say you happen to own page 1 of Sludge number 1.
I do.
And
I could be rich.
And you also own page 2 of Sludge number 1. Those 2 pages don't necessarily have any value corresponding with each other.
Right.
Okay. So if I have all the sales data because the page 1 for Sludge has changed hands 1 million times and it's now worth $27 million, I still don't know what page 2 is worth.
That's true. So that's right. So it's like you could pick certain pieces that change hands a lot because you got data on it, but ones that don't.
Yeah, literally, we could get into because of the modern world we're in and in the digital environment, we could get into empirical data on comic art. Not just price guide, not just theoretical stuff, but we could track pricing history because, get a good programmer, scrape the internet, you come up with most of the prices. But you still get the folks like Mr. Simonson, who hasn't sold much art.
Mm-hmm.
And so literally, I can tell you what I think a Walt Simonson page is worth based on what other stuff sells for.
Right. But
I got no real track record to show you that.
Right. Yep. No, that's an excellent point.
And there's no matrix for we're like, oh, well, the good price is this, so the near mint price must be in a ballpark of, X plus 50 or whatever.
And for some pages, I think there's an emotional connection to something. How do you value what's it worth to somebody?
See, that's one of the things. That's one of our guiding principles, so to speak, behind the guide. Is this collect what you love and you're never going to overpay. It is what does it mean to you? But that said, you can't discount nostalgia. You can't discount emotion. You can't discount your connection. Like I don't, my belief and my understanding of what nostalgia is I can't be nostalgic for something that occurred outside my lifetime. So I can't be just nostalgic for comics from the 40s. That's not nostalgia. That's an interest in the past. Nostalgia is for something from your own experience. Now, you might be nostalgic for the first time you discovered about them. Maybe it was in Jim Steranko's History of Comics.
Right. Yep.
But that's where the nostalgia ends.
Right.
And nostalgia is a great first impulse for collectors. It's a big, powerful impulse for collectors, but it's not the only thing in there. Right.
Now that makes a lot of sense. When you think of it in terms like that, it makes a lot of sense. Okay. So we have a question here. I'm going to have, hopefully.
Sorry about the dog. He's just so needy.
I've been expecting my cat any moment.
He'll just be so sad when Aaron's streaming, and if I hold him, he's just like, let me at him. So I am holding the dog.
I'm gonna my cat actually thinks he's a dog, so it works out like that.
There you go.
It's okay then. Yeah.
Now I'm supposed to have Richard Evans on from Bedrock City here next week. I've been trying to get him for a couple of weeks because the market's so crazy that I want to talk to him about it. But since I've got you here and someone brought it up in the chat, I'll throw it at you and see what you think. Jeff Stout wants to know, how is the exaggerated market of speculators affecting the pricing and you guys keeping up on the trend? So how are you able to sort of, you take a look at the market right now, which is, maybe COVID driven to a certain extent is my theory, that a lot of people had no place to go and some extra money to burn. So we're seeing higher prices. And I've talked to other retailers who have different theories and stuff. But when stuff like that gets interjected into the market, how do you guys kind of balance that and saying, do we go with this trend and follow this trend? Or are we saying, wait a minute, this is a spike that's going to come back down? And so how do you...
I think there's that answer's got 4 parts to it. Let's see if I can remember all 4 by the time I'm done. First, there's something that happens before COVID. And it's thanks to the Marvel movies and to a lesser extent to the DC TV shows. And it's this: we've never had greater social acceptance of what we do.
Yes.
Than this period we're living in now. And I think that's foundational for everything that happens after this point. 2 is that I think you're correct in saying COVID money. People didn't travel for vacations. And so they've got that money. And many of those people also got checks from the government, say, hey, here's some money to go spend.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that fueled some stuff. There are any number of fields, not just comic books, and I can't speak to like fine antiques or something like that, but pretty much everything else in collectibles where I know somebody who covers that market or is in that market.
Right.
I can say every one of those markets enjoyed something like what we're describing. None of that means that some people, some retailers, some comic collectors, some individuals have nothing to do with us, aren't hurting financially because of COVID. That's absolutely, we've seen what it's done to small business.
Right.
But the retailers who had an online presence to start with, that didn't have to make the big shift all of a sudden, that had good eBay feedback and whatever,
mm-hmm.
Some of them did brilliantly.
Yeah.
And so thirdly, I think that it would be impossible to prove, but impossible to dismiss the impact of that COVID money. So that third factor is I'm saying we can't prove that because we don't have the demographic firepower to go survey all these people.
Right.
But common sense and the people, the anecdotal people we've talked to, I'm sure you have too, seem to indicate that that's the thing. And fourth, booming prices do have an effect of driving themselves. When we get into somebody pays a crazy price for one thing, that's a crazy person. When 5 more people do it in a row, it gets covered in the news and other people start doing it too, then it's a trend.
Right.
And so we take all of that and we evaluate that against one bottom line, and that's that however we are about other matters in life, Bob's approach to pricing comics is very conservative and based on evidence. And
so is that why, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but is that why you'll see a book, right? Maybe Werewolf by Night 32, right? First Moon Night, right? You go into Price Guide and it'll say it's worth, I don't know off the top of my head, $8,000 in near mint, whatever, right? But then maybe you see an auction and it goes for a 9.2 goes for 10 or 11 grand or something like that. So is that sort of you guys' conservative approach to saying, I really think this should stay in that $8,000 range based on what I've seen? We're not going to jump on this wagon and just all of a sudden say it's, well, if it sold for 8 in December, and now it's selling for, 12 in February. So by the time this book comes out, it's going to be 14 kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the great things that ever happened to me was we were at a panel for the 40th anniversary of the Price Guide. And as I mentioned, that was the first one that I was really in, where I was really the guy running the day-to-day operations. Mm-hmm. And we had a panel, and it was Mark Huseman from the Guide, Maggie Thompson from CBG, Steve Dvorak, and I know I'm leaving somebody out, and I feel really bad about it, but that we had this panel at San Diego, and a guy in the audience got up, and he basically, not too slyly, was implying that we were setting the prices. We were fixing them.
I've never really got that impression.
And I can tell you, look at the number of things that we're wrong on, which is a small percentage, but it's there.
Yeah.
And frankly, because we take the conservative approach, we'll miss the boat on a trend that goes up and down, but we'll still be right in the long term. So as I'm getting ready to formulate this, diplomatic, political answer to this person, to buy myself the time to think of how to slap him down. That wasn't right to say out loud. Sorry. A guy in the front row raised his hand and said, second row rather, raised his hand and said, "Hey, could I take a stab at answering that?" And I'm like, "Sure." And I'm basically thinking, buy me time to come up with a diplomatic answer instead of saying something pissy. And the guy stands up and says, "I am a scientist at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory for NASA. And I just like to say over 40 years, the Guide is almost always right in the long term." And I was like, okay, next question.
Well, yeah. So you sort of look at it like like the stock market, right? It goes like this, but it's always generally going up. And you guys are tracking right on that plane.
I have been on board when we had to do a correction. When we were out for, I think it was Price Guide 27, we started seeing all these signs like 50 off Overstreet. And I'm like, that's really bad news. And it's bad news for our credibility. It's bad news for the market, everything else like that. We did a correction on 28, and a few people bitched about it, but the market boomed for a decade and a half after that, almost uninterrupted in terms of the back issue market.
Yeah. Cue the dog. Okay, so how about this question? I've been collecting comics for years and seen the price guides around, but I've never gotten one. What would you say makes picking up a copy a good move? There you go. You can sell your book.
Yeah, there's two things here. First off, like I said early on, I'm as much a reader as I am a collector. Mm-hmm. And if you are just getting comic books to just enjoy them, and you don't care about that, take the money you'd pay for the guide and buy more comics. I would never try and sell the book to somebody who didn't want it. However, if somebody was looking to understand the value of their comics and wanted a baseline starting point, particularly if they were going to have any certified by CGC or CBCS,
right,
and wanted to understand grading terminology better, or the difference in prices at grades, I don't think you can do any better than the price guide.
Well, let me also throw this out there. One of the things that I always enjoyed with the price guide was getting information, first appearances. You know, when, you know, we talked briefly about this on Niall's show. We had the conversation, Shelley and I did last week as well, about the first appearance of Archie, which originally was listed as PEP 22, or pardon me, Jackpot 4, but then became PEP 22 and things like that. And there are kind of like, if you're into that kind of thing, and maybe you're not necessarily, oh, I want the value of it, but it's like the first appearance of Spider-Man's black costume. Which one came out first? Was it the Marvel Team Up, or was it the Amazing Spider-Man? And that's the kind of information, at least especially in the modern price guides, that is really up to date and is really useful for that sort of information. So,
and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun, and particularly, you know, because you started early and with the guide with number 6, and you know, you'd see the color stuff. Man, we even learned a lot from the ads. You know, pouring through that book and finding all the ads from the early dealers. And if you look at it now, you see there are advertisers that have been in there for many decades. And these are people who know their stuff. And it's a great way to, if you say, okay, I've collected a lot of modern current comics. I've gone to my local comic shop and I've gone like back through, and I'm well into the Bronze Age now, and I'm loving that kind of stuff. But I want to get Golden Age. I want to get this. And it's a gateway to those kind of retailers that carry that kind of stuff.
All right, I got 2 more questions for you before I cut you loose. But the first one's big. Where do you see as the official book that launched the Bronze Age? I know that there's 2 books out there, Conan #1 and Green Lantern, Green Arrow 76, that tend to be sort of the argumentative books. Do you guys have a definitive answer to that question?
Yeah, it's a really good question, and let me hit you with it's a political answer, but I really think it bears out.
Okay.
It's easier if we go back and first talk about the Silver Age first.
Okay.
Clearly, we've got Showcase 4.
Right. That everyone agrees on that, hands down.
But how can you ignore FF1, which kicks off Marvel? And so I do not believe that there is a date. I believe that there is a period of where these things start. I believe that each of the ages that we've called into definitions, and let's face it, first things first here. We do it ass backwards. Okay. No civilization starts with a golden age. That is our forebears in the comic collecting business, starting with their nostalgia.
Yeah.
Which many of us agree with.
Yeah.
But they calling that the golden age. So it's all downhill from there.
Well, but wasn't that driven as much by sales? Because we never had that kind of popularity or sales numbers that we did in the 40s, the golden age, and the war years.
Yeah, okay. That part we could say is absolutely true. But have we ever had the sales, the money power that we have? Okay, you can point at the $1 million comics and say, yeah, three of them are golden age comics.
Yes.
But if you look at the 6-figure comics, where are most of them? Most of them are Silver Age.
Yes, that's true.
So I say, it's funny. We had this point, and we actually had a good article and discussion about this in the grading guide, and that is the whole thing about comic book ages is, I think you point for modern. I make the argument that there's further dividing lines down the line, but they all come from editorial and publishing decisions. Golden Age is, okay, we're going to try and do original stuff. Because comic books have been around
as opposed to reprint stuff, what they were doing,
right. And they had been higher priced and clearly aimed at adults. They had been a quarter when my grandfather made 16 cents a week.
Wow. Wow.
I know. Gosh.
So they were aimed at adults originally around the turn of the last century.
You know, I often thought about that, especially those giant size ones that were 25 cents. I was like, that was a heck of a lot of money.
Yeah.
Back then.
And they sold way more than the Golden Age stuff sold.
Okay, let me ask you this then. Would you consider, I'm getting off on my own tangent here, but would you, Detective Comics #1, is that a Platinum Age book, or do you consider that a Golden Age book?
There was a thing when I joined the staff, there was a period that was called pre-Golden Age. I never liked that. I think there's a good argument to make that it lives in both worlds, the Golden Age and the Platinum Age. I think I'm probably in a distinct minority that would say that. I think most people are just going to be lazy and say it's Golden Age.
Because I did a short video about this, and I did some research in it, and it was coming up that everybody likes to say that Action Comics #1 was the beginning of the Golden Age. So then I assumed, well, what do we do with these comics that are post Yellow Kid, but pre, you know? And so I thought, so
let's say post Thimble Theater and Popeye,
mm-hmm.
because Popeye and Bringing Up Father and those kind of collections, those are the ones that were selling millions.
Right.
Okay. So then the Depression comes along, and you have people who have paper contracts trying to find creative ways to use paper. It's why Big Little books and modern comics are born at the same time.
Yeah. Oh, that makes sense. Yeah. Well, so I guess it's
a fascinating thing, and I'm sure that somebody far more scholarly than me will have some answer for it someday in a definitive way. Right now, I just say it's not as clean cut as people want it to be.
Yep. Well, I mean, that makes a lot of sense, and I will. You're right. Everybody wants a definitive answer for everything, and sometimes it's, who's the one deciding these things? It's just sort of. No, that's an interesting way to look at it, and probably a better way to look at it, unless you have to be dogmatic about it and pin it down to something, right? But
yeah.
Okay, so the big final question I have for you. One of the problems with the price guide always has been that, well, at least in more modern times, the last 30 years, is keeping up with the market, since it only comes out once a year,
sure.
Right? And you've said you guys are looking at doing that digitally now, which I think is a great idea. But is the price guide still relevant as a book and as a price guide when you have such volatility going on?
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more with the question, though. The question needs to be asked, and we're very comfortable answering it, which probably surprises some people. One of the moves that we made several years ago was dropping the top of the guide to 9.2. And that's because the prices above that, while you can make an estimation of them once you have a 9.2, are very volatile. And that is since the advent of certification, which many people, for whatever reason, view as a multiplier. We've seen that there's a guy I interviewed back in the early days of CGC, and he had this quote that said, "The madness begins at 9.6." And I haven't found him to be wrong.
I can see that.
And by the way, I'm not criticizing the people who pay that. What was the main thing I said? Collect what you want and you'll never overpay.
Right.
If you want to pay what I consider stupid money and you consider smart money, go for it.
Right. Well, I think you have to know the market as a buyer, right? And that's based on sales histories and things like that. And again, then it comes down to, what are you willing to pay to get something you really want?
Sure. And,
right?
and are you competing beyond your means? And that's something you never want to do, because you never want to wreck your own hobby for yourself.
Right. Okay. But one of the things that came up here that I think is interesting to just kind of piggyback onto this is slabbed books. Is there, how do I want to phrase this? Are they really, or should they, or are they really worth more than unslabbed books, or is it just people are willing to pay more for the confidence that they know what they're getting?
Listen, absolutely, there is no question that certification, third-party independent grading, has added liquidity to the market, in the sense that you might have a dealer that you know, and I know a handful right off the top of my head, check right there, that I would trust their grade over the phone. I might know, like, hey, he's a half grade low, or he's a half grade high, or whatever, but they're consistent. And consistency was the enemy of liquidity. The fact that a lot of people didn't know how to grade, they graded like they were the sellers, like, oh, this book's a, I tend to not use the nomenclature. I tend to use the numbers. But like this great book grades like this looks like a 9.2, but maybe it's a 9.6. And if they err on the side of 9.6, and you look at it and go, yeah, it has a tear in the cover. Yeah. You've got all that.
This is a 7.0.
But I just got this. I swear, I just got this beautiful. The second Superman versus Spider-Man Treasury Edition, and I'd never owned that one. And it was beautiful. Dealer I'm real good friends with had it. He was out of town. I bought it off his wall. Texted with him, or I think calling him on vacation, or texted with him and talked to him about a price. Got it home, and there's a cover tear in it, and I was like, because it absolutely presented as a much nicer cover, but you took it out of the Mylar, and there it was.
Yeah, exactly.
But that kind of stuff isn't going to happen when you get a certified comic. You're also not going to read it.
Right.
I know collectors, and the more serious they are, the more they want the comics. They don't care about the certified part. I also know guys that are investors that only care about the certified part, and their opinion and their money is no less legitimate than those of us that want to read the comics. But it is a different marketplace than we entered when it was just the collectors.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. And I'm kind of torn, because I'm hyper aware of the value of the books, but I'm also a fan and a collector, right? So I've kind of put this kind of standard on my own, where it's like, if I'm paying more than $200 for a book, let's say, it's going to be slabbed, because I'm not going to get in an argument with somebody 6 months from now if I want to trade it, or something happens and I have to sell it, and they're going, oh, that's only a VF plus, that's an 8.5, that's not a 9.2. So when I'm buying, like I bought things like I picked up a Thor 126 last year or the year before, right? And that's about $1,000, $1,100. And there's no way I would have bought an unslabbed copy, even if I thought it was a 9.2, and paid that much money, because you could lose $600 on that book just like that if you to get it graded and it comes back an 8.5, and you're like, what?
Absolutely. One of the things about that is that we do benefit in a way from the age we're living in. There are, I'm not a big digital comics reader. I've created digital comics and things like that. I like a few of them, like Aces Weekly is a great anthology. But you can get almost everything that you can, either in some kind of archival edition, or and so that sort of does away with a lot of my hesitancy about certification. But I'm also, I'm a comics creator too. I'm not just the Overstreet guy, and I have some of my own done as signature series, and because who doesn't need a big head once in a while, and and I also, I want people to read my stuff. So
right. Speaking of which, do you have anything right now that you like, indie publishing or anything that you want to
not make known right now? I will very soon have first up right now. I think in previews right now is our free comic book day issue the Overstreet Guide to Collecting Comics,
which
really? Is all in comic book form, and has a cover. And this was a bucket list thing for me. Has a Ron Friends cover inked by Sal Buscema.
Oh, cool.
And it is really cool. So that's in the January previews. February previews, I have a story in the new Kent Menace book from Mike Malbrough and Scott Braden at American Mythology. I have a short story with Dan Lawless in there called The Rime of the Retro Mariner. And then I think April, but maybe March if I can get the covers done. We'll do the Kickstarter for the new Vampire PA, which was delayed, very, 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 very COVID delayed. It'll be called Al Capone Vampire #1. And,
how fun is that? That's fun.
And it's absolute straight continuation of the last Vampire PA we did, which was called Bite Out of Crime. And this is Al Capone, modern day, coming back and deciding to take over Chicago. And it's probably going to be 3 issues. It's about 4 issues worth of material, but I'm sort of thinking if we can crowdfund the second issue and just make it double sized and get it over with, maybe we'll do that. And I'm really looking forward to that because I've had a lot of fun. Brendan and Brian Frame are my artists on that. They've done a lot of stuff with me over the years, and got that. And I've got another thing called World at War that'll definitely come first half of the year too.
All right. Well, it sounds like you're busy, and that's excellent. I also want to plug real quickly here, since we've been talking about the Overstreet Guide, you finally broke down and commissioned me to do a cover for the price guide. I can't say what it is, but this is a bucket list for me because, as we've been discussing here for the last hour and a half, the price guide's been a part of my growing up as a comic book reader and collector, as much as the comics have. And so to get an opportunity to actually do a cover for the price guide is just a dream come true for me. So we're working on that right now. And you guys will have to just be on the edge of your seats until it gets revealed.
Here's what I can say about it. I've had a few instances in my career where I've given somebody something that I thought was a little bit of an interruption to what we might have otherwise done with an easy cover. And certainly the main subject matter of the cover that I asked you to do, I think was totally in your wheelhouse. And then I threw the curveball at it about adding a birthday celebration to it. And that's where I got more than I expected. And it's always the greatest thing in my position of having somebody who I fully expect to deliver a great cover just still blow me away. So when I got your sketch, was it night before last?
Yeah, it's Friday night.
I totally geeked out, and I was explaining to Rosina, who doesn't get it, why it's so freaking cool. And she just looked at me and goes, "I'll trust you on this one." But it really is going to be cool. People are going to love it, and I frankly can't wait for people to see it.
Well, thank you.
It's not that far away because we'll be hitting previews in April.
Yeah, so it's going to be on this year's edition.
It absolutely will be on the Overstreet Comics Price Guide number 52, which will be on sale July 20th.
Oh, wow. That's my birthday.
Is it really?
Wow.
You're back to your birthday at San Diego then, Shelley.
I hope so. We get there.
Well,
nice.
Man, JC, thank you so much for joining me. This is the kind of stuff I could sit and talk for hours about. And I know that there's maybe 10% of our audience is probably as geeked into it as we are, but so I don't want to drag it out too long. But
I have noticed a couple of things in the comments, and I really appreciate everybody saying, welcoming me and asking me to come back even. And it's great to talk about this stuff. Obviously, the usual thing is trying to get me to shut up. So.
Those are the best kind of people to interview. You don't have to do much work. I just let you do all the heavy lifting, and I can sit here and take notes while you're talking. And and then so
all of this is so interesting, even for a kind of
layperson.
I would say an observer for 30 years,
an interested observer.
Yeah, that's right.
You can't be uninterested and stick around for that long.
Oh yeah, no, yeah.
That's true, but
I do want to fess up to one thing. I was so pleased that you picked Star Trek because I'm a lifelong Trekkie.
Oh, yeah.
And
Me too.
I was a pitching writer for about 3 years on Voyager. And
Oh, really?
yeah, and I'm developing a show with Roddenberry. Whether it goes anywhere or not, we'll see.
Oh, that's awesome.
Matter of fact, about the time we're hitting previews, they ought to be going out with the show. So
nice.
Excellent.
Well,
wow,
I
that's
appreciate
exciting.
The help, since I obviously only knew Vigor.
For as much exposure to Star Trek as she has had in our 30-year relationship, you would have thought she could have bat maybe 75% there, but that was.
See, I would have been successful at 50.
Yeah, that's okay. True. Well, I'm gonna have to bring the math questions in next week, I guess, to make her feel good. That
that's my background is math and science. So.
But anyway, hey, I want to remind everybody that Wraith of God is still available in demand. So if you haven't checked out my campaign for that, please do so. The link is in the description. What's that? Andy.
Nothing. Go ahead.
Oh, that's something else. Okay. And then I also want to make sure that that's one of those. We're over here talking for a moment. Just ignore us.
Just a minute.
I also want to point out that John Malin's book, Graveyard Shift Volume 4, is open today on Indiegogo and is doing quite well. So you might want to run over there and check that out. I also put a link for that in the description of this video. So I have big guests coming up all throughout this month. I have confirmed Kelly Jones. We're trying to find a date for him so we can sit there and talk about rights and stuff. We're two kindred spirits, at least in terms of our interests in art. Richard Evans is supposed to join me next week, but he keeps moving me back. So I really want to talk to him about the market and what he sees. And he's a big Golden Age collector, and he has some
very, very knowledgeable guy.
Yeah, and he has some tremendous books in his collection. I'm going to hope he's going to share a few of them with us to make us all sick to our stomach. And I'm going to bring back, of course, the great Dale Keown again for a sketch off in not too distant future. And my roommate, who's a film director and Academy Award winner from college, will be joining me sometime here in the not too distant future. So we have a power lineup, JC. You really sort of, you're the first guy here.
I'm sort of the low end of the pool, huh?
Well, we want to build. We want to build. We want to build. So.
Hey, I failed to plug one thing, which is amazing considering how much work I put in on it. The Overstreet Comic Book Price Guide to Lost Universes debuts February 16th. It was delayed due to the bindery and paper issues, though we sort of planned for the paper part of it.
Yeah.
In the Canadian printers, but it'll be out February 16th now. It is Malibu Ultraverse. It is MLJ Archie superheroes over all of the decades, 8 decades worth. We've got Defiant, Future Comics, Tower, CrossGen, and many others. All of them, every book that's listed in it is pictured. So it's a photo journal as well as a price guide. And it's been a ton of work, and it's really a template for what we can do with other books in the future. And I got to say that I think people will dig it when they see it.
Yeah. Well, I'm telling you, you're doing a terrific job, JC, of keeping something that could be kind of traditional, old and stale, but keeping it fresh and bringing in new things to keep people interested. And I think that is just a great idea. The Lost Universes. Sadly, I was part of 2 of them. So I hope I wasn't the one who killed them. Jeff Johnson and I used to joke that we started off working at Blackthorn Comics when we very, very started. And that company went under. Then we both went to Malibu Ultraverse. That company went under. We were both at CrossGen looking at each other going, oh, no, we're doing it again. And so it's like Jeff Johnson and I have decided that we just need to stay apart. We're like the episode of Star Trek with the negative
matter and antimatter guy.
Yeah. You get together. It's the end of all life.
Here's what I have to say. The answer is no. You're looking for somebody to put you guys together in the right way.
That's right. There you go. That's it.
I like that.
All right, man. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks,
I hope
everyone.
you have the rest of your Sunday evening is fabulous, and I hope the rest of your week is as well. Our professionals are Thursday night. I think Andy's hosting this week, and then of course Shelley and I will be back next week Sunday with whole new level of excitement that you haven't seen before.
Woo!
So, and also Comic Gate Kings Monday night on Ethan's channel. So I'm all over the place. Woo! And again, our thanks to JC Tex Vaughn for joining us and talking about doing a deep dive into Overstreet Price Guide. My son actually said to me today, he goes, he doesn't watch this show, but he wants to go back and watch the Keown interview, and he wants to watch this one because he's a big collector too, and so he wanted to get all this stuff. Yeah. So
we raise them right,
and we raise them right. That's right. That's
very
right.
good.
So anyway, everybody, thank you again for joining us. Remember to like and subscribe if you haven't, and join us next time. And have a great week. Thank you.
Bye, guys.